Okay, good morning everyone. All right, it's wonderful to be here at the Housing Summit today with people from right across Queensland. Over 160 people here in Brisbane to talk about a really important issue to families. We understand that there are pressures at the moment on families. We understand that what we need is to have more secure and stable accommodation. And the feeling of goodwill in the room is fantastic. And I want to thank all the stakeholders, the mayors, representatives of both sides of politics for coming in today to really put the issues of families foremost. So today we're announcing an extra $1 billion to the Housing Investment Fund. This is fantastic, which will mean an extra 5,600 homes will be able to be built, taking the total of additional dwellings to 13,000 by 2027. This is fantastic news. We also have the Build to Rent program. I was at Mirvac's 50th celebrations last night. They're building that building in Newstead, and of course that's going to be affordable housing for workers, which is great news. The DP's also, the Deputy Premier, Stephen's also unlocking more money for infrastructure, which you heard about in my speech, to do with Cairns. And we're encouraging other councils to come forward as well. So it's great news to be here today. It's wonderful to see the cooperation of people, and of course this Housing Summit will continue until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I'll hand over to the Treasurer to say a few words, the Deputy Premier, and then we're happy to take some quick questions.
Well, thanks, Premier. Great to be at the Housing Summit today with so many interested and engaged Queenslanders in one of the most critical issues facing our state. We're very pleased as a government to be increasing our investment into the Housing Investment Fund by an additional $1 billion. So that'll take the capital in that fund to $2 billion and will double the income we receive from that each year to $130 million. As the Premier said, from that fund alone we'll be able to support the establishment and construction of 5,600 additional homes till 2027. So this is an ongoing, sustainable funding stream for housing in Queensland, social and affordable housing, which will make a difference as we deal with the challenge of housing and housing affordability in this state. This is the right thing to do, and now is the right time to implement it. So we're pleased to be able to do this as a government. Our economic recovery has enabled this sort of investment to be made, and of course we'll listen to all the participants today as we work through some more of their ideas and suggestions. It won't be, as we've heard from many participants, there's no single bullet, no magic silver bullet to fix the housing issues in Queensland, but working together we can find collective solutions that will help address these problems for Queenslanders wherever they live in the state.
Well, right now Queensland is booming, the economy is booming and our population is booming, and if we're going to maintain our great Queensland lifestyle we need to increase the supply of houses. The roundtable that we held last month and now this summit have already delivered results. We've made a whole series of housing related announcements, but the big one today is this extra $1 billion into the Housing Investment Fund. It's a fantastic outcome. I look forward to hearing today from industry, from local government, from not-for-profit providers, hearing from them what else and more we can do to work with them to deliver more homes for Queenslanders.
Well, today is an absolutely fantastic day where we see the federal government, the state government, local government, some of our housing and homelessness sector representatives, and of course the private industry all coming together for the first time to really address the issues that we're facing with regards to housing in Queensland. And today's announcement by the Premier and the Treasurer is absolutely fantastic, to double that Housing Investment Fund, meaning that we will see since 2015, under this government, we will see some 13,000 social and affordable homes added to the housing sector by 2027. That is very much well received and needed. And of course, just yesterday, I was able to take the keys for our 4,000th social housing dwelling that we've been able to complete as a government. And as we continue to work with the sector, with all levels of government, we will ensure that we are going to be able to deliver those more social housing and more affordable housing for Queenslanders who need it right now.
Okay, we'll take questions on the Housing Summit first. Well, we'll be addressing more of these issues this afternoon. We're already hearing about people where they actually do have some vacant properties, so we'll be looking at working with them. And also too, it's great to see a lot of our church organisations saying that they've identified land as well that can be built on. Yeah, the Treasurer was able to give us some good news that we are able to afford this $1 billion going into the Housing Investment Fund, and there'll also be more details coming up in MIFA. Yes. Sorry. We'll be looking at making that a priority, because if you've got the land identified and you can quickly get it zoned, we can build houses on it. So it has happened before, very, very good results. So everything is on the table today. Yep. Yeah, so I'll let the Treasurer go into more detail, but this is a continual pipeline of investment. So it doubles it now to $130 million a year that automatically goes into building our social and affordable housing. That is fantastic news. So it hasn't happened before. We're seeing the federal government move in this direction as well. And isn't it wonderful to have the Federal Housing Minister here today as well, where we seek to do great cooperation between the state and federal government, and that's exactly what Queenslanders want from their governments. Yes, we are. And can I say that is one of the reasons why we have closed sessions, so people can actually speak their mind and talk about their lived experiences as well. And I'm quite sure you'll hear from people later on today about that. Sorry? They're actually happening now. So this is exactly what happened at the Jobs and Skills Summit. So people feel free that they can speak their mind, talk about a whole range of issues without having a camera or a journalist bearing down on them. But the media are more than happy to speak to people here during the morning tea breaks and of course during the lunch breaks. Okay? That's right, they are. Thanks, Marlena. Yes. Sure. So we will be listening to all of the ideas today. There will be further opportunities for people to put in further submissions, and then of course we will be then working on a concrete plan. Sorry? Well, as soon as we can, but as we can make announcements, we will. So a lot of good ideas on the table, and that's great to see the level of enthusiasm that's here in the room, and I really want to thank everyone for that. I might get the DP who's gone to the Gold Coast.
Yep. So Gold Coast proposed, I think, 32 amendments to their local city plan, and recently I announced 20 of those. The other 12 or 13, industry raised concerns that they would reduce the availability of housing supply on the Gold Coast. You cannot increase housing supply with a plan that will decrease housing supply, and so that's why I've asked our planners to work more closely with the Gold Coast City Council to refine those amendments and recommend them to me at the point at which they should be approved. So in 2018, the then federal government made a series of announcements regarding on-ramps at Griffin and Marumba Downs. At the time, the analysis of those on-ramps suggested that it would be very difficult to deliver them. Since then, the Albanese government have delivered additional funds for that section of the highway, enabling the construction of those on and off ramps that were pursued by Peter Dutton. As a result of the viability now of those on and off ramps, some residents have now been advised that their property may need to be resumed. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will be resumed, and so public consultation can now commence now that those funds are there and the residents have been notified. Well, it wasn't until those studies were completed and the more recent additional funding provided by the Commonwealth Government that it was possible to identify which properties may be affected. Now that those properties have been identified, the owners have now been notified, and there'll be ongoing public consultation to refine exactly which properties will be required. The upgrade of this highway will allow the ongoing development of tens of thousands of homes in and around Caboolture. So anyone who drives that highway, I think, knows that additional lanes are necessary. The construction of these additional lanes will allow us to plan for tens of thousands of new homes in those estates around Caboolture.
We made the decisions in the best interests of Queenslanders, and it kept Queenslanders safe. I stand by the decisions that the Chief Health Officer made at the time that I backed in, and I stand by our world-leading result when it comes to the number of lives that were lost compared to other jurisdictions and what happened around the world. I think the pandemic has had long-term impacts on a wide range of people, not just because of border closures. I stand by all the decisions that were made to keep Queenslanders safe. It was an unprecedented time, a time of which I hope we never have to go back to again, a time where we stepped up and did everything we possibly could during a pandemic, the likes of which no one in our lifetime has seen before. Sorry? I understand that the member has apologised. I understand that the electorate staff wrapped that. It is very unfortunate, and in future I would anticipate they would either give a floral tribute or a message or words. Sorry? He has said that this is what happened with the electorate office staff, and yes, I believe what my members say. Okay, and it cannot happen again. It cannot happen again. Yes. I think there's pressures everywhere on tradespeople. You can talk to any developer. I know the Treasurer convened a roundtable with developers just yesterday. Also, people getting renovations done on their homes. It is an issue everywhere, just as there are pressures on tourism sector, there are pressures in a whole range of skills sector, which is why the federal government convened that Jobs and Skills Summit. Yeah, I would expect people to be employed to do their job. Yeah, I am, yes. Sorry, I just can't hear. Okay, you can ask the Health Minister that. I don't have the details on that. Today I'm focused on the Housing Summit. Well, you can talk to the Health Minister. I'm quite sure that she's making it a priority. Okay. Last question, because I really have to get back in, if you can appreciate. Yes. I'll find out where that's up to, but we know that the Commission of Inquiry is still happening, and we need to let that Commission take its course. Okay.
Last question.
Can we just make sure that there's housing is a big issue. It's not just social housing. It is the private rental market, and already we're putting over $100 million into helping people find sustainable accommodation. This is a big issue. The vast majority of people are in the private market. So, that's why we're trying to unlock more land supply. We're looking to the church organisations so we can get more affordable housing out there. The build to rent scheme, the first of its kind in the nation, is going well. And of course there are big issues. But working with the federal government is also a positive step. And we're looking forward to seeing the federal budget being handed down next week and to see what additional measures are there for housing. I'm really sorry we have to go. Thank you very much for coming today, everyone. Thank you.